Oh, hey, and welcome to episode 4 of the Critical Reel. It's pretty quick since my last one. I just want to get right back into recording again because it feels good. It feels good to be churning out videos and churning out podcasts and actually getting my channel up and running, which, is the whole point of this whole thing. This is my first catch up, my first catch up podcast, and it's relatively new because I didn't really have to do this when I did my written reviews because with written reviews, you can just write any review you want and then publish it whenever you want. It doesn't really matter how old the film is. When I saw it, whether it was a new release or not, it didn't really matter because review what I saw, write what I review. No, that doesn't make sense. Basically review what I saw whenever I saw it. That was the philosophy I had when I was doing written reviews. So now that I'm doing podcasts, it's a bit different because if I keep recording podcasts for every single film that I see, whether it's Ghostbusters or The Godfather or 21: A Space Odyssey or Trainwreck, I can't keep recording podcasts for every movie that I see because it's just going to be too many. I'm going to be flooding my RSS feed. I'm going to be flooding Facebook and Twitter, and all you guys are just going to hate me. So I think this is a bit more economical. So I review new releases as individual podcasts, which I think is a good idea because, it's new releases deserve their own little episode. But films that I'm catching up on, films that came out earlier in the year that I didn't get a chance to see, that I'm seeing now, they don't really need their own episode. So I can kind of gather these catch-up films into like little short vignette episodes, which is something like this one, the catch-up episodes, and kind of review 3 films in the episodes. So there'll be shorter, sweeter reviews that don't take up as much time but still get the job done. And I don't think it matters what year the films are. So like I saw Ghostbusters believe it or not, I saw Ghostbusters for the first time last week. I mean, I've seen bits of Ghostbusters. I've seen scenes, with the Marshmallow Man, and I've seen, Sigourney Weaver writhing on the bed, and little pockets of scenes from Ghostbusters. I've never really seen the whole film in its entirety, so I did that for the first time last week, and I wanted to write a review about it, but I didn't get a chance to. I didn't have the time to because I was in that transition where I was starting this whole podcasting thing, so I didn't have the time to write a review for Ghostbusters. So Ghostbusters would be a film that I would include in one of these catch-up episodes. It's not a 2015 film, which is fine, but it's a film that I saw in its entirety for the first time, and it can easily make its way into one of these catch-up episodes. I'm not going to be talking about Ghostbusters today, though. I think Ghostbusters is in the past. Maybe I'll do one for Ghostbusters 2, which I'm planning on seeing in a while. So the 3 films I'm going to be reviewing today are all 2015 films, except for one, which is actually a 2014 film, but was released in Australia last week. So I'm not counting it as a new release anymore because a new week has gone by and new releases have come out. So this film is considered an old release already. So that film is 5 Flights Up, which stars Morgan Freeman and Diane Keaton. And then I'm also going to be talking about Trainwreck, which came out about a month ago, I think, in Australia. And that one stars Amy Schumer and Bill Hader. And the last film I'm going to be reviewing is The Cobbler, which stars Adam Sandler. So it's an Adam Sandler film. You pretty much know what to expect from that one. So I'm going to start with 5 Flights Up, which is it's a film that is trying to be very sweet. It's a film that is about this elderly couple, and they're trying to rekindle their marriage flame, and they're, trying to sell their apartment in order to downgrade a little bit, and find that inner love that's been lacking in their marriage, which is a very sweet idea. It's a very sugary premise, and I think it could have worked if the screenplay and the direction took the film to a place where you didn't want to kill all the supporting characters. Because if you see this film, if you see 5 Flights Up, you will want to kill every single supporting character in this film. Anyone who is not Morgan Freeman or Diane Keaton, you're going to want to strangle to death. Because they are all... They're not really shaped on any kind of human being. Like, they don't behave as human beings. They are obnoxious people who kind of barge their way into this apartment. You know, they're looking to buy the apartment, and they don't really give a rat's ass whose apartment it is, who the owners are. They're rude to Morgan Freeman and Diane Keaton. They sit on the couch and watch TV and ask Morgan Freeman to step out of the way. You know, it's just little stuff like that that never really happens in real life. If you're going to buy an apartment, if you're going to an open house to look at an apartment that you want to buy, and the apartment is nice, and the couple that owns the apartment is a nice couple, you're not going to be on your worst behavior. You're going to be on your best behavior. Even if you don't want to be there, you're going to put on a smile, you're going to be nice, you're going to be polite because you want to buy the apartment. No one in this film is a nice person. You can even argue that Morgan Freeman is not a nice person in this film. He's kind of an old curmudgeon who doesn't really want to sell his apartment because he's grown comfortable in his neighborhood, and he's very at ease even though the neighborhood is changing and the children are getting more obnoxious. To him, that's all part of the charm. That's all part of the charm of Brooklyn. And he just doesn't want to leave. He sees this whole apartment sale as, you know, a very desperate last resort attempt at rekindling his marriage with Diane Keaton. So no one in this film is really a nice person. I think that damages the film to quite a severe degree, because you're finding it very difficult throughout the duration of the film to really like anyone or to really relate to anyone. There's also this character played by Cynthia Nixon, who she's the realtor. She's the person who's trying to sell this apartment for Diane Keaton and Morgan Freeman, and she plays Diane Keaton's niece in the film. So there is this family bond that the two of them have, but you don't really sense that family bond between the two of them at all, because Cynthia Nixon's character, the realtor, is just so focused on making this apartment sale that she almost seems like a real estate robot machine trying to make a sale. She doesn't care that her aunt can't afford a new apartment or might not really want to sell this place. She doesn't really care about all that. And at the end of the film, there's a scene between the two of them that is just completely outrageous, because it's not something any niece would say to an aunt over such a trivial matter. You know, it's not like the aunt slept with the niece's husband or something, and the niece got so upset that she had to, you know, suffer a sudden burst of Tourette's syndrome or something. This was a very insignificant, trivial decision made by Diane Keaton, and for some reason the niece just explodes and storms off, and you're like, am I supposed to believe that? Am I supposed to believe that any family member would do that to an older family member, you know, a senior in the family? So it's stuff like that in this film that just didn't ride the right waves for me, and that just damaged my whole experience of Five Flights Up. Which I'm giving Five Flights Up 2 stars. It's not a good film, but you can go into it and enjoy Morgan Freeman and Diane Keaton playing this elderly couple who seem very comfortable with each other. You know, these are two actors who have been in Hollywood for so long, so they know the ropes, they know what to bring to the performances, and for the most part it works. They do a good job making us believe that they've been married for 40 plus years. The second film that I'm going to be talking about in this catch-up episode is Trainwreck, which I saw this morning, and it stars Amy Schumer and Bill Hader, and it's all about Amy Schumer, who is essentially a train wreck. She is not in control of her life. Well, she kind of is in control of her life. She's got a good job, but her love life, her personal life is in shambles pretty much. She sleeps around, she drinks a lot, she smokes pot, she has a boyfriend, but it's not going well, and she sleeps with other guys on the side. So she's that kind of person. And Bill Hader plays a doctor who deals primarily with sports players, basketball players. And they don't seem like a good match, but in actuality they are. And it's quite telling in a film like Trainwreck that the best performances don't come from the lead actors. Instead, they come from sports people who are pretty much making cameos in the film. I think that is the saddest part about Trainwreck, is because as much as I like Bill Hader and I thought Amy Schumer was alright, this is the first film that I've seen her in. I don't think she's really acted in as the lead in a feature film before. As much as I kind of enjoyed, I wouldn't say I enjoyed their performances, but as much as I tolerated their performances, for me, the two outstanding performances in the film came from John Cena, who is a professional wrestler, and he plays Amy Schumer's boyfriend in the film, and he's absolutely hilarious. I'm not even kidding. I mean, I don't like John Cena as a wrestler. I think he's one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen. But as an actor, I think he's got what it takes to be funny. Like, he uses his masculinity to his disadvantage, I should say. And there's a scene in a cinema where he's trying to insult like another patron of the cinema, and he's coming off all gay. That his acting in that scene and his comedic timing is so spot on that I actually laughed my head off. And I wasn't even expecting to laugh at all during this film. So he's one of the cameos that actually makes this film funny. The other one is LeBron James, who is a professional basketball player, and he is kind of close friends with Bill Hader's character because they, the whole basketball doctor relationship going on. And so I have not seen a single basketball player who has acted in a film and has actually been good. I have seen basketball players make cameos in TV shows and movies, and they've all been like planks moving around the set. They were so bad at acting. Even Michael Jordan in Space Jam was not a good actor. He couldn't act for nuts, even though I love Space Jam. It's one of my childhood films. But Michael Jordan, objectively speaking, could not act at all in that film. LeBron James, though, on the other hand, in Trainwreck, does a fantastic job. And he's actually genuinely funny in this film. There's a scene where he and Bill Hader are playing basketball that also had me laughing my head off. And I wasn't expecting to laugh in this film. They kind of develop this quasi pseudo homosexual relationship that goes on, and it actually works for the film. It actually works in the comedic sense of the film. So these two sports players who make cameos in the film actually do a better job at making me laugh than the comedians in the film, which is the saddest part about Trainwreck, because it's a comedy. Which also leads me to the point that I think I'm growing very tired of American comedy. Like, I'm finding it harder and harder to laugh at American comedy. It's just the same stuff over and over again. I think American comedy writers inherently think that words like poop and dick and vagina and vomit and ass are funny, when actually they are not. You need like a context. You need a situation and a scenario to make those words funny. And a lot of American comedy doesn't have that scenario. They just think those words are inherently funny, and they're not. And it's just the same stuff over and over again. Every American comedy that comes out now is about, body parts and your genitalia and what you can do with the genitalia and how I'm gonna, shove my fist up your bum and it's gonna come out your mouth. And, it's just stuff like that it's not funny. And yet Americans think it's funny. It's a sad state of affairs. And like the CGI thing in Hitman Agent 47, which I talked about in my previous episode, I think this whole American comedy catastrophe that's happening in Hollywood deserves its own episode. And I think I will work on this episode in the near future and get it out as soon as I can, just to discuss the downfall of American comedy, in my opinion, and what can possibly be done to elevate it back to, a grand height, a height that glorifies what American comedy used to be back in the 60s, the 70s, even as early as the 30s and the 40s. So I think American comedy has kind of lost its way. But yeah, like I said, that's probably another issue for another time. The last film I'm going to be reviewing very quickly today is The Cobbler, which is quite an inexplicable film, though, because it kind of tries to marry a lot of different ideas into one. Which is good. I mean, it seems like it's an ambitious story and it's an ambitious film, which should work because ambition in film is a good idea. Like, look at 21: A Space Odyssey. That film is so saturated with ambition that it's been driving people's heads round in circles for decades. And so The Cobbler is one of those films that tries to do too much with too little. And also, it's an Adam Sandler film, so inherently already, it's not gonna be great. I mean, Adam Sandler, he has to have the thickest skin in the world, because everyone around him, everyone who sees an Adam Sandler film absolutely hates Adam Sandler films, and yet he keeps making these films in this exact same way. So you gotta admit that he's got a thick skin. Like, he doesn't really care what people think of his work, which is quite admirable, but it's unfortunate because he keeps producing subpar films. And this The Cobbler is one of them, which is unfortunate because it starts out being quite an interesting film. And Adam Sandler plays like a fourth generation cobbler who, you know, he's all upset. His life is going nowhere. He hates his job. His shop is right next door to a barber shop, which is run by Steve Buscemi, and they kind of have a good kind of father-son relationship, which is necessary for the film because Adam Sandler's dad ran out on him and his mom when he was a child. So he kind of takes it upon himself to look after his mom. So he's kind of this dejected, experienced, talented cobbler who is very upset with his life. And I thought the first third of the film actually worked for me. I actually thought it was going somewhere. It had a little hint of seriousness about it, and I thought it could go somewhere where most other Adam Sandler films have never gone before. But then the middle portion of the film, there is a twist. One of the first twist of the film that starts its inevitable downfall. And this is when Adam Sandler, his machine breaks, I don't know what they're called, his cobbling machine breaks. And he goes down to the basement of the shop where his grandfather's old cobbling machine is. And he uses that machine to fix a pair of shoes. And he puts on the pair of shoes and he becomes the person whose shoes those are. So he becomes the owner of the shoes. It's like a magic trick, but real, kind of. So he whatever shoes he fixes with that machine down in the basement, if he puts them on, he becomes the owner of the shoes. Which was surprising when I first saw it because I had no idea that the film was going to go down that road. And then the actual plot kicks in, and it's about this drug deal or something, this real estate. I don't know if it's a drug deal. I can't really remember though. But I think it's a real estate deal that is supposed to happen, but then it doesn't happen, and he gets caught up because he actually puts on the shoes of the guy who's supposed to carry out this real estate deal, and now he's caught up in a whole mess of trouble, and then he accidentally kills someone, and he's trying to cover it up, and it just gets absolutely crazy. Like I was so upset by this film because I thought finally Adam Sandler was gonna have a decent Adam Sandler film. Like Click, by the way, I think is quite an underrated film. It's one of the best Adam Sandler films that I've seen, Adam Sandler comedies that I've seen, which actually was less of a comedy than I thought it was gonna be, which was good. This one, on the other hand, I thought was going to go somewhere, and then it just kind of crumbled into nothingness towards the end. And then at the end of the film, there's this really saccharine kind of twist that everyone, I think, would have seen coming, and it kills the film dead right there and then. The twist at the end is just, no, I'm not accepting this. So yeah, that was quite disappointing, I think. You know what? I just realized that I forgot to give Trainwreck a star rating. I completely just zoomed by straight into the Cobbler. This is the first time I'm doing one of these catch-up episodes, so you kind of have to forgive me. I'm giving Trainwreck 2.5 stars. So it's kind of just passed. It's slightly above average, but it's not good enough to be a good film. So I'm giving Trainwreck 2.5 stars, and I'm giving The Cobbler 1.5 stars. It's very unfortunate that The Cobbler went down the road it was going because I actually thought it had potential at the beginning. So yeah, this was my first of what I hope to be many catch-up episodes. It's going to be 3-in-1 episodes, 3 films for the price of 1. And yeah, let me know what you think of these episodes and if they actually work, if they help you in your viewing experience, because it's just to expedite the reviewing process. You know, I can't, like I said at the start of this episode, I can't really afford to review each film whenever I see them. So I think these catch-up episodes are going to work quite well for me. So if you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please subscribe to both my YouTube channel and my iTunes channel. I am on the iTunes store. Just search for The Critical Reel and you should be able to find me. And yeah, until next time, thanks. No, I completely screwed that up. Until next time, thanks guys so much for listening. See ya.